So today we're celebrating, as Pastor Charles mentioned, the true day of all things, and also the founding of our church back in 1954. I decided to make this service about the more focusing on true day of all things. As you can see, we started off with a fairly comical take on the importance of nature, but that's really the theme of today's talk. So, duties and missions of the citizens of the heavenly kingdom, and this one in particular is protect and love nature. So here's our edict. As citizens of Cheon Il Guk, please have the wisdom to protect and love nature. Return to nature and enjoy a life of liberation and complete freedom. To love nature is to love God and humanity. So why this edict from our founder, Reverend Myung? Why is it so important to be in nature? And the reason for this is outlined 2,000 years ago by St. Paul in his letter to the Romans. For since the creation of the world, God's invisible qualities, his eternal power and divine nature have been clearly seen, being understood from what has been made, so that people can be without excuse. So what I wanted to say was, what St. Paul is saying, you know how people say, well, God is invisible, so God doesn't exist, God is not important. Even if God were alive, why is God important in our life? And St. Paul is basically outlining that there is no excuse to not knowing God because he's all around you. In fact, if you are introspective, God is within you. And it's harder, I feel, to get in touch with God inside of you. Some people have done it inside prison cells. They've gotten in touch with God inside a prison cell. And they've gotten in touch with God while being tortured. But I don't recommend that. It's far more healthier and a lot more accessible to find God in nature. So St. Paul is simply saying that if you want to know God, you don't need to look far. God is all around you. So look into nature and you can find God there. Okay.
They were all set to go automatically.
All right. Excellent.
So are you going out in nature today?
Yes, I would like to have done that. Unfortunately, I thought of that too late. So it was, so here we are in the cubicle again. No, I thought, this would be a great opportunity to have a Sermon on the Mount, right? Surrounded by nature. But unfortunately, I thought of that yesterday and then realized it was a logistical nightmare to try to make it all happen. And so, anyway, so that's what St. Paul said. So, and this is from the Divine Principle. This being, and again it's analyzing the nature of God, would be the first cause of all the myriad of things in the universe. As the first cause, this being must also possess the dual characteristics of internal nature and external form, which stand in the position of subject partner to the internal natures and external forms of all beings. We call this first cause of the universe God. So it's quite logical that whatever being created this universe, we're going to find traces of this being in the creation. Just like you would see the character of an artist through the painting, even though you never met that artist, you might be appreciating a work of art that was painted hundreds of years ago, and yet you can have some pretty deep insights into the character of the person that painted that painting simply by looking at the work that they produced. Similarly, if you want to understand the nature of God, all we have to do is look in creation. In fact, like I said before, really you just need to look inside yourself, but we'll leave that to the people who can sit down and meditate long enough to figure that one out. So here, for instance, is a beautiful painting of nature. Okay, so that's nice. All right, here's another one. Oh, it's a very nice, beautiful painting. But somehow, even though we appreciate beautiful art on our walls, but somehow it's not as good as the real thing. So going into nature, and again, this is a photo. Okay, we're not in nature. But it's better in a way because it's almost like nature. And again, what would be even better is if we were out in nature right now. So the point is to really get a good grasp of the artistry of God, it would be great to go into nature. Right there.
Right now.
Right now, yes. By the way, next week's sermon is in Hawaii. So I hope you got your tickets already. So the architect of this beautiful nature has made some really amazingly pretty things. Okay, that's the nature of God. But the same architect has made some pretty dangerous things too. So,
Oh my Lord, look at that thing.
So,
Jeez.
who likes spiders in here?
I love them.
Yeah? Oh,
Yeah.
About 20% of you like spiders. Great.
Arachnid.
Great. These people, they really appreciate spiders too.
Oh my goodness.
They ruled the world before dinosaurs did.
So,
What is that guy doing?
the guy, he is, I don't know the name of it, a scientist who studies spiders. He really appreciates spiders.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. And,
Baby spiders?
yes.
The person with the tube is eating them?
No, they're blowing they're making them do something.
No,
So,
he's eating a spider.
That's right.
Chow, he's munching on a tree.
what about sharks? How do you feel about sharks?
I love sharks.
All the sharks are cool.
So would you like to go swimming with a great white?
No.
Some people would.
No.
So the point is, in nature, you're confronted by all these myriad of creations. And they all came from the same being. The beautiful flower in the meadow, the great white shark, the vicious hyena, they all were created by the same being. How is that possible? Well, it just goes to show that God is a multi-dimensional being. And there are people in this world that reflect that nature of God, that really are attracted to things in life that you are not attracted to at all. So what does that tell you? That tells you that we should all be very appreciative of each other. We should understand that in our own mental capacity, we don't have all the answers. We should understand that in nature, we are faced with a multitude of different stimuli that remind us of our place in the world. For instance, fishermen that go out on the ocean, they have a healthy respect for the ocean. They're not arrogant towards the ocean. Fishermen have a healthy respect for Mother Nature. Why? Because they're with Mother Nature a lot, and they understand the enormous power that nature has, and they are respectful of that. People who don't participate in nature have a tendency to forget their place in the world, and we have a tendency to become arrogant as a result, or disconnected. So our purpose is really simply this: to understand the principles of creation. Okay, that's so important. For instance, before the Wright brothers came along and flew the first manned flight in Kitty Hawk, South Carolina, many people had tried to fly, but had been unsuccessful. Now, it was only the Wright brothers, by understanding some basic principles of flight that were able to fly. And when we understood those principles of flight even more, we were able to put heavier and heavier and bigger pieces of metal up in the sky, simply by understanding the principles of flight. So there's a very deep principle in that. In that it is important for us to understand how things work in this world. How can creation, therefore, how can all things help us to understand our purpose? And this is summed up by Aristotle. In all things of nature there is something of the marvelous. Now, what kind of God do you believe in? Do you believe in God as being just a source of energy? There's all kinds of ideas out there. One is that God started the world, but then he just sort of left it and went off to another universe. And so we're just kind of a self-perpetuating existence, which doesn't really mean much. Or do you believe in God as an emotional being? If you believe in God as an emotional being, then you would expect to have an emotional relationship with that creator, with that being. So, if you go into nature, you're reminded, if you look carefully and you are still, of how much nature is giving you without asking anything in return. For instance, what do you breathe in every so often? You breathe in oxygen. Is it taxed or is it free? It's free. It's life-sustaining and it's completely free. Sunlight is free. All these life-sustaining qualities that nature is providing are completely free. So it is important for us to understand this, because we are trying to understand the nature of love, and we can learn that through creation by looking at birds that are protective of their young. We can understand one aspect of the nature of love, for instance. Is there an app that can help us to be humble? Is there an app that can help us to go out and to experience our place in the universe? Is there an app that can teach us to be grateful? No. But there is one right outside that door called nature, and if we spend time with it, we can learn all these things. So I'd like to read this last quote from our founder. When human life resonates with nature, human character can blossom in perfection. The flowers of a true culture of heart, a true artistic world, will bloom. It will be the Garden of Eden, the original ideal where human beings and all creation live in complete harmony and express their original nature. So I'd like to just end there, and would like to finish off with a video, and after that we can gather and discuss our plans to go out into nature.